Recently, I competed in round 2 of the KartSim Esports Championship. This is my first ever esports race, and with lots of karting champions in the field, I was super excited for it. In the pre-event qualifying, the top 30 drivers went through, and I qualified 7th, which I was super happy with, especially because the setup that was being used in the event was a different one to the one I've been practicing on. I did a bunch more practice on the setup before the race and managed to absolutely destroy my PB, but you'll have to wait for qualifying to see that. As some of you guys know, I'm quite tall for my age, which means that I weigh more than most of the shorter drivers I raced against. This mainly affects rental karts as they don't have that much power, but when I had the chance to test an owner-driver go-kart, I was the fastest driver in the kart that I was driving before we left. I'm not sure if anybody beat my time or not afterwards, but anyway. Because everybody has the same weight, top speed, cornering ability and everything else in the sim, I was also excited and interested to see how I would stack up against some of the smaller drivers. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's head straight on into the event. I did some practice before the event started, and I guess I forgot to not show my full pace because I beat the previous qualifying lap record. This was partly me improving my times and partly track conditions as well. After the driver's briefing, the server opened for a 15-minute practice session, and in this short 15 minutes of practice, I learned 2 pretty major things. The first one being track position is so important. To my surprise, I was one of the fastest drivers in this session, but I kept getting stuck behind slow cars. Turns out, when you have 23 karts on the track at the same time, it can get a bit crowded. This brings me on to my second thing that I learned. This track is really hard to overtake on. There's basically one overtaking corner, which is turn 3, or 4, I'm not sure how they count the turns at this track. That meant that you had to go for any gap you could find and capitalise on every single mistake.
Look at this then, Tancho Banda, a new name to the KartSim Esports Championship in 2025. Finds himself up in the top 3 at the moment in terms of outright pace. Impressive stuff from Tancho. He's within half a tenth of a second of Warwick Milam, who is a very accomplished racer, both in real life and in the virtual world as well.
I finished practice in 5th, so I was excited to show my pace in qualifying. Jumping into qualifying now, this is by far the busiest pit lane I have ever seen. I mean, just look at this. So I went out right at the start and just needed to set a decent banker lap because with this many karts out on track, there's no guarantee you're going to find a good gap to get a perfect lap in. I did a few laps and then went back into the pits, got new tyres and actually managed to find this really nice gap between everybody, so I had some clean air and that meant that I can push as much as possible. I was then able to improve my time by a tenth of a second, which doesn't sound like much, but this made me go from P7 to P5. Then I went back into the pits again because I caught up with some slower karts.
We saw Tancho Banda head into the pit lane a few moments ago. Tancho's still in the pits, and the timer now dropping to below 1 minute left to go. So Tancho, if he doesn't get out of the pits right now, which he's just done, I was going to say, if he doesn't get out of the pits right now, he's not going to get round and be able to have one final go at this. But he has got out. There you can see him heading up towards Spoon at the moment, as we drop down to 45 seconds left to go.
I then went out again to try and do another qualifying lap, but I think it was about this time that the sun came out from behind the cloud, and the circuit got really hot, and very few people were able to improve their lap time. So I stayed in 5th place. Honestly, this was so much better than I expected, and I wasn't that far off 1st place either. Only about 3/10 of a second away, and I was faster than a couple very fast drivers as well.
And it looks as though that's going to be about it for the qualifying session. No drivers are finding any particular time there in the dying moments. And here is your grid for the seniors here at GYG. A return to KartSim Esports for Zane Quecker, and a return to pole position. Benjamin Hamilton will line up alongside him on that front row, just less than a tenth of a second off there in the dying moments. Warwick Milam and Teddy Cooper, your championship leader there on row number 2. Tancho Banda and James Vout on row 3, with Daniel Thomas, Jago Reed-Hardy on row 4.
Going into the race now, I had to hold my brakes to make sure that I didn't roll backwards because the elevation on this track is crazy and the starting grid is on a hill. As the light goes green, I get a pretty good start actually, and I'm able to cover off the inside line into turn 1, and then tuck back to the right down the long straight. I have a really good run on the driver ahead. I have so much extra speed, so I try to pull out to the left to go around the outside, but I just don't have enough momentum, And then going into turn 2, somebody sends it up the inside, completely kills us and drops me down to P7. I'm actually quite surprised I was able to keep the kart going in the right direction because this grass is treacherous. Fortunately for me, there's a small gap I can slot into, and I can now focus on overtaking P6 and try to recover those positions I lost. Skipping ahead to lap 5 now, I'm right on his tail, piling the pressure.
Daniel Thomas and Tancho Banda nose to tail as well for 6th place in behind. Daniel Thomas is just ahead of him. There we go. We look at that battle for 6th place. Tancho Banda looking to pile the pressure on to Daniel in the car ahead. Daniel has a big slide there out the final couple of corners. Up and under goes Tancho. They'll be side by side through the first corner. Inside line for Tancho, but Daniel holds the speed beautifully round the outside. They'll continue side by side up to Spoon yet again, but the inside line for Banda should be the place he wants to be, and it will be. Down the inside he goes, late on the brakes as he dares, and Tancho Banda is up into 6th place. Good move from Tancho.
A great move puts me up into P6, and I slowly start to pull away and catch up to P5 again. The race is just 12 laps long, so I have to get these moves done quickly. Just as I catch up to P5, they decide to pull into the pits. I'm not really sure why, but I'll take the free position, and now I just need to focus on setting fast, consistent laps. I was able to close in slightly on the leaders ahead, and pull away from the karts behind, but there just wasn't long enough for me to catch up to them again. I'm not sure if it was just different track conditions, but I could not get the kart turned in properly into turn 3. I noticed the other drivers are struggling as well, so it was probably just track conditions. I brought it home in P5. Honestly, way better than I ever expected this to go, and it's super cool that everything being equal, I can compete with the super fast drivers. I really enjoyed this event, and I'm super excited for round 3 at PFI, a track I'm hoping to drive on in real life soon. Thanks for watching, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.